Welcome to A Slice with Dice, a place for honest conversations about the realities of education. I'm Corey Alderdice, Executive Director of the Arkansas School for Mathematics, Sciences, and the Arts. I've spent nearly 2 decades navigating the joys, challenges, and unexpected moments that come with leading schools. Each week, I'll share what works, what doesn't, and everything in between when it comes to igniting the full potential of our communities. I'm excited to share this journey with you, so let's get started. In Wednesday's episode, we talked about an insightful study from the University of Arkansas Office of Educational Policy looking at teacher retention. We dug into why teachers stay, why they leave, and what keeps them feeling connected to their schools. That conversation really underscored how much the climate and culture of a school can influence whether talented people stick around. So it's interesting and maybe even a little instructive to look outside the world of education for examples of how people respond when they feel undervalued. Okay, so my wife recently binged the comedy murder mystery series The Residence on Netflix, which reminded me about how Shonda Rhimes brought her creative empire over to the streamer in the first place. Now, if you don't know, Rhimes is the powerhouse producer and writer behind hits like Grey's Anatomy, Scandal, and Bridgerton. She spent more than a decade at ABC, turning Thursday nights into a ratings juggernaut and quite literally printing money for Disney. Now, part of her compensation deal was that she received a couple of all-inclusive Disneyland passes each year. Not a big expense for a multi-billion-dollar company. But one day, she asked for an extra pass for her sister, so the family could enjoy a day at the park together. The request wasn't outrageous, but it was met with surprising resistance. And they eventually gave her the pass, only for it to not work at the gate. So here's Shonda Rhimes having to call up a Disney executive to sort out a small perk she was already entitled to. And when she finally got on the phone with one of the top people at the company, she got the kind of offhand remark that can change everything. He said, "Don't you have enough?" That was it. That was the last straw. Shonda Rhimes later told The Hollywood Reporter that she hung up, called her lawyer, and started plotting her move to Netflix. And the next chapter of her career would unfold somewhere she felt both valued and trusted. Now, what in the world does this have to do with education? And honestly, quite a bit. Because when we think back to that conversation about teacher retention, one of the biggest through lines was how much the little things matter. The way teachers are treated on a day-to-day basis, the tone leaders use in conversations, the support they get for their needs, those add up as much or more so than compensation, or sometimes they actually subtract. And like Shonda Rhimes, educators have choices. If they feel brushed aside or underappreciated, they'll look for opportunities elsewhere. Now, what's really powerful about Rhimes' story is how it wasn't about money. She was one of the most successful television producers in America. It wasn't even about the theme park pass. It was about what the pass represented, or more precisely, what the refusal and the dismissive comment revealed. It showed her that after all of those years of creating hit shows, driving ad revenue, and anchoring an entire night of network television, the people she worked for still didn't really respect her, or at least they didn't think enough of her to handle a tiny fixable problem with grace. And that's where the story hits home for us in schools, because so often the things that ultimately push great teachers, counselors, or staff members out the door aren't big, dramatic issues. They're the accumulation of small moments that tell them they're not genuinely valued. A casual, that's not my problem, when they bring up a concern, a lack of follow-up on promised resources, a sarcastic joke that lands the wrong way, or a simple need that could easily be met but is treated like an imposition. When people hear that kind of message enough times, even indirectly, they start to believe it. They start to imagine what it would be like to work somewhere else, somewhere that values them not just for what they produce, but for who they are. And that's how schools lose excellent educators, just like ABC lost Shonda Rhimes. There's also a deeper lesson here. ABC might have been focused on short-term costs. Why give out another expensive pass? But they lost sight of the long game. Rhimes was their rainmaker, their creative engine, and losing her to Netflix didn't just mean the end of a Disneyland pass. It meant the end of a partnership that had generated tons of cash in revenue and defined an era of television for both. In schools, it's so easy to get bogged down in budget lines, staffing charts, or test score reports, but we can't lose sight of the fact that our biggest asset is the people who show up every day to pour themselves into students. So think about the small moments. Think about how you respond to a teacher who asks for a minor schedule adjustment, or how you show appreciation when someone goes the extra mile. Think about whether you're sending the message intentionally or not that they're just lucky to be there, or whether you're making it clear that your school is lucky to have them. Because in the end, people with talent and passion have options. They'll go where they feel respected, trusted, and valued. And sometimes, all it takes is one offhand comment or one careless oversight to completely tip the scales. If we want to keep our very best educators, the ones who transform classrooms and change young people's lives, we have to nurture those relationships every day. Not just with grand gestures, but with small, meaningful signs of trust and respect. That's how you build a culture where people want to stay. And that's how you avoid your own Disney Pass moment that sends your Shonda Rhimes looking for the next Netflix. So keep striving to lead in ways that lift people up, that honor their contributions, and that show them, in all the small ways, just how much they matter. A Slice with Dice is a production of the Arkansas School for Mathematics, Sciences, and the Arts. I hope today's reflection sparked some thoughts for your own journey. If you enjoyed the episode, please subscribe, share, and leave a review. Let's keep learning and leading together. Until next time, keep striving for growth and excellence. Thanks for tuning in.